Having a neuromuscular disease can sometimes be really hard because all your friends are outside playing hide and go seek while you have to go on your breathing machine, and you're not really a regular kid sometimes. But at MVA camp, you know that you are a regular kid because you're with people who are just like you. I was counting down for 153 days. I can't wait to see all my friends that go there. Leaving camp is probably the worst day of the year because you're basically leaving your family because everyone at camp just becomes one big family, and everyone's such good friends there. It's really sad.
When I was first diagnosed with ALS, it was a very sobering, diagnosis, and one that I definitely wasn't ready for at the time. The facts are that ALS is a, fatal disease within 3 to 5 years of diagnosis.
What are you doing, Lulu?
Well, I put it in a...
What did you put in there?
I put my tooth in there.
What tooth did you lose?
This time.
Ah. What made it fall out?
A wheel on Ella's birthday cake.
Oh.
It was like this hardest cookie in the world.
Then what happened? Then you put it in a baggie, right? So what are you writing?
I'm writing, I love you, Tooth Fairy. You can even take the treasure box if you want.
Oh.
And I put it in a little treasure box thing.
That's cute. Say release. And not what I had expected when I died. I fervently believed that when I die, I would finally be in the hands of God, only to realize that my entire life, all that I was, and all that I experienced was a lie. My whole life, my whole existence, my entire experience in this world was a lie.
Pixie referred her to a top London surgeon, Angelika Kavuni, who will perform a labiaplasty.
I'm going to draw the design of the incision.
Lindsay is having the excess skin from her labia surgically removed to relieve her discomfort.
Now I'm removing part of the excess tissue while maintaining the natural edge of the labia. Lindsay had a fair amount of excess skin. There were psychological but also medical reasons for her to have the procedure. A number of patients experienced a lot of infections in the area. And now I'm going to stitch the two edges together. It is obvious that there's going to be quite a big difference in the appearance. And I'm sure she will be very pleased.
19-year-old Lindsay went under the knife to get rid of an intimate secret. A month later, with 2 inches less skin, Lindsay's back.
Now, when we last met, you were having an awful lot of discomfort in your labia area.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel now?
I feel a lot happier. I feel a lot cleaner as well. With there not being so much skin there.
Are you pleased you went through what must have been a painful surgical procedure?
Yes, it was worth it in my opinion, yeah.
Can we have a look at the finished product? Do you want to pop up there? So, should we have a look?
Yeah.
I mean, that's brilliant. Yeah. So it's all flush with your other skin down here, which is fantastic. Because actually it was very obvious, wasn't it, before? It was, it was really noticeable.
Yeah.
You must be pleased with that.
Yeah, very pleased.
Yeah. Excellent.
I was bleeding so incredibly heavily. It went against the nature of everything that I knew to be normal. I wanted that surgery. I would make a phone call to my gynecologist's office to ask them if it was normal to have to change all of the equipment, the pads and the tampon, every hour and a half. And I was told, if it gets to less than an hour apart, then call us again. So that was my reassurance. I had to modify where I went, what I did, what I wore. I had to pack my purse full of supplies. I couldn't get up from a chair without wondering what I'm going to leave behind. I told my husband, finally, if you had a gash in your arm that was pouring out blood, we would take you to the emergency room and get that stitched up. It went against the nature of everything that I knew to be normal. I was working with my physician who had suggested to me that there is a solution to this problem. And that solution is a hysterectomy. So I wanted that surgery. My girls banded together to give my uterus a bon voyage party. This is my bronze uterus that they made for me, and there's a little plaque on here. Each of my girls wrote a message to the uterus themselves about how they enjoyed their first home. Dear womb, it's been such a long time since our last correspondence, almost 27 years to the day since we last saw each other. And they were grateful to the uterus for what it had done for them. And it was a really great send-off party. I naively was afraid of the actual surgery itself. I just went to sleep. And when I woke up, it was over. I wrote a letter to my gynecologist surgeon after my operation, and I was completely healed. And I told her that what she had done for me was sacred. It was a healing cut. And that's how I look at it. It was very healing.
You know, I should designate this a disability blog, since that's what I seem to spend most of my time here talking about anyway. Now, if you've never experienced discrimination because of, say, race, sex, age, disability, great, I'm really happy for you. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Otherwise, we wouldn't need things like the ADA or equal opportunity laws. So, don't lie to yourself. People will discriminate against other people as long as they can. If it's not technically against the law, they'll probably get away with it. When you start talking about things like advocacy or activism, especially here in Orange County, people roll their eyes and that has nothing to do with us. We've got money. People don't discriminate against rich people. Why are you wasting your time on something that doesn't exist? And discrimination affects all of us. Disability is one thing that will probably affect you at some point in your life. Now, if you're lucky enough to be, that's nice for you.
Alright, so Mia, I've worked with you before. Why were you stupid enough to show up for this job today?
Because I love the abuse. I love the way you fuck my face.
But like seriously, like some people will watch this tape and they're gonna say, "Oh my God, he's beating the heck out of her."
You gotta understand, Brandon is such a nice guy.
What would you say to people like if guys are getting off on this rough stuff? I don't know. What would you say to them like that? We know each other, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, as long as everybody's willing, it's great. And after the sicker, the better. It's great.
And we've done rough stuff before.
Yes, we have, and I enjoy it. Not all the time, but with someone like Brandon, it's wonderful.
Okay, so you're down for the slapping, the choking.
The slapping, the choking, the gagging, the everything.
And why are your eyes watering?
Because your cock is so big, it gags me.
Alright. you are the best toilet I've ever met.
Thank you.
And I've met a few.
Thank you very much.
Blonde hair.
And about how old are you?
5.
And what do people call you?
Cynthia.
As our guest relives her past life, the audience gets to ask questions about the experience.
Cynthia, from where you are in the super consciousness, can you tell us what your feelings or emotions were like immediately after you died?
I don't know. I feel light, I guess.
Did you feel a relief of any discomfort? You mentioned a discomfort in your head.
Yes.
Did that go on?
I just finished attending a conference, was crossing the street, and I just fell. A few months later, I was at the airport. There was a chain holding some pot plants, which I thought I was going to step over, but for some reason my foot did not lift and I fell over the chain. I rode my son's bicycle and couldn't keep my balance and fell. My posture was changing and my shoulders were starting to sag. Finally, one morning, while I was carrying a cup of coffee to my son, it just fell out of my hand. And for the first time, I realized there has to be something wrong.
Basically, I've been having suicidal thoughts forever now. I won't go into too much detail because I'm pretty sure you guys will get really bored. Basically, I was diagnosed with epilepsy in 7th grade, and no one can really figure out, and yes, I am aware of the string hanging here. Anyway, but no one can really figure out what exactly is wrong. I've been bouncing around on medicines a long time. I'm 5'4", and at one point I was actually 89 pounds, and it's not because I wanted to be, it's because of the medicines. Right now, I am on Lamictal and Zerontin, and I'm taking Zoloft. And it's obviously not working, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video. Basically, this is me asking you for help. I'm asking you, and I'd really like you to be honest, if I should or should not do it. And if I should, if anyone could give me like advice maybe on how I should, and if I shouldn't, if you guys could tell me why I shouldn't. Here's the deal, I'm not really good at school, and in our culture, that's really bad. On a 5.0 scale, my GPA is a 3.5. My cousins, of course, they have 4.0 scales, but of course they have like 4.2, you know, all that stuff, and I'm just not up there. I have a hard time keeping friends because I'm extremely clingy, and my parents they are getting sick of me because I have a really bad temper and I have a hard time controlling myself. But, I mean, I'm not sure if that's because of the epilepsy or it's just me. I mean, I'm just sick of it because I keep bouncing around on medications. And this medication, I mean, the combination of all of these medications is, it's not really working. I mean, not because I'm having seizures, but because of all the side effects. And I'm really sick of living like this. So, I'm asking for help. You know when you're like gonna go on a roller coaster and you get to the front of the line and you're just like, should I do it, you know, and all you really need is like one of your friends just to kind of push you on. That's what I need. I need someone to either push me and say, just do it. Just get it over with, just do it. Or I need someone to pull me back and say, you're gonna make a really big mistake if you do it. I have a boyfriend, and I've been with him for almost 2 years now, and I know that I bug the hell out of him because every time I have suicidal thoughts, I always come talk to him first, and, I mean, we're 16. I understand that, you know, he doesn't want to hear about it anymore. And, I mean, it means a lot to me that he still listens. It's just, I'm getting sick of it. I'm getting sick of all these thoughts. I'm getting sick of all the health stuff. And, I want to say, if you recognize me, can you please just kind of keep this secret, because I want some unbiased opinions. That's about it. You know, my parents don't like me. I'm having suicidal thoughts. My health isn't good. I'm bad at school. I'm probably not going to go anywhere in life. I mean, I need help. Should I do it or should I not? Leave a comment, please.
You just have to stay strong. Think positive, because if you think negative and you be depressed, then you won't meet your goals.
Calm and collected, 19-year-old Trisha Taylor tells us how she is able to deal with the pain of losing both legs. It was a year ago today that she and a friend were walking down the sidewalk in Pontiac when they were hit by a drunk driver. Taylor's legs had to be amputated, and she soon found herself getting used to a wheelchair. Someday, she might be able to do some walking with help from some prosthetic legs.
They don't think I'll be able to walk exactly on my own because my right limb's so short. So I'll probably have to have a walker or maybe even a cane or something just for balance.
But these days, Taylor isn't letting that get in her way. She plans to start college soon, and she just bought a house. She's not bitter about the accident anymore and says, if anything, it's made her a more responsible and better person.
You know, 19, getting a house, it's crazy, but never thought of that.
Very influential people in our group. People are finally fed up enough to take a stand. They've lived with this political correctness for, I don't know, the past 20 years or so, and it's boiled to a head.
Do not turn your back on the cross.
This videotape provided by Klan members is a rare look at the inner workings of the Klan in Shawnee.
We'll robe up, we got torches, and we'll light the torches, we'll light the cross.
We do not burn, but light the cross.
And celebrate Christ.
To signify Christ is the light of the world.
Even secret handshakes. And they say it's all for the white race.
People just don't understand us, don't know our history.
Tension between the two races, between the black and white races, was tangible. It was very evident. And so then you feel threatened. You feel afraid.
Especially the night Heather was tied up and raped at knife point.
What went through your mind? There were a few moments in there where I simply thought, I'm going to die. It was like it wasn't real. I didn't really believe this was happening. In fact, I said that to him. I said, what are you doing here?
Now move the camera closer so you can see. Luckily, always turn your chair off, otherwise you could be in some big trouble. Luckily, my hearing tube is long enough to reach around my left, in my left arm. My left arm, I have a seatbelt that allows me to lean forward or lean to the side. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to do this. So, I grabbed the bag. I try to place it on the part's going to be difficult because the tube is full of urine. And so is the toilet.
What? Got it.
No, you didn't. Awesome.
Mama!
What? Ooh, you got it.
That's who pulls them teeth out herself. Let's go for that.
I just fell to the floor and was unable to move my legs. That was the last time that I ever stood on my two legs. It's very difficult as a patient to see one's family, in my case, my wife and my two sons, trying to cope with this disease.
At first, I don't think I really dealt with it at all. I went through probably every bad route one can take. So I tried medication, I tried a psychologist.
The active father that they used to know is still pretty active mentally, but physically is unable to participate in activities with them.
With my experiences as an amputee, I really want to help people that are going through what I did and be able to tell them about it and tell them that it's going to be okay and that they'll get through it. And you kind of need that in your life. You need to know that there's other people out there who are going through the same thing. I was born without my arm. It's called amniotic band syndrome. Basically what it is I stuck my arm through the amniotic sac and the bands cut it off, I guess you can say. Well, I had never seen anyone without a limb before. I was the only amputee that I've ever seen, and I always thought I was the only one. I would always ask my parents, am I the only one, am I the only one? And they promised me that I wasn't, but, until you see it, you don't really know. It was great coming here because I met people that had gone through the same experiences that I had gone through. You can talk about it so much easier because they know exactly what you're going through, and, with your friends, they don't really quite understand.
Let me show you my routine to get my clothes on. I'm a C6, C7 complete quad. The first thing you'll notice is that before getting started, I get all my clothes ready because once I start dressing, it's much harder to move around. I have a lot of spasms, and I try never to fight them. So for instance here, I manipulate my legs such that I never trigger my spasms. It's also possible actually to use your spasms to help you. For instance, I'm going to use my spasms to keep my legs straight. And so I'm now sliding forward, and my legs are straight, my back is straight, and actually my trunk is straight too. And that's all thanks to the spasms. Now that I've slid forward, I can reach behind my back and pull my pants, and then pull myself back up on the wheelchair. I keep my shirts pre-buttoned so that it saves time in the morning when I get ready. I always wear an undershirt because otherwise I keep getting cold.
She knows the word rape. She understands what happened, and once in a while she'll say, "Mom, I'm so sad. I don't like it, what happened to you." And then I'll say, "Me neither." I said, "I hate what happened. It was awful. But if it didn't happen, then I wouldn't have my little girl." And she just glows and smiles. And in fact, she tells me, "Mom, you're lucky you have a daughter." And it's true.
When the patient's hand is placed on his leg, a regular tremor develops in his fingers, thumb, and at the wrist. This tremor is likened to pill rolling. As he walks towards us, the steps are short. The gait is somewhat shuffling. The patient turns slowly. And he sits down awkwardly in a lump.
That would be very difficult, and they're able to get through that, and we help them through that process.
I'm very appreciative of everything that the Muscular Dystrophy Clinic has been able to do for me. And I feel that without the leadership of Dr. Patterson, the other physicians, and the entire medical team at the MDA-sponsored clinic, I may not have lived to see my 33rd birthday, which I celebrated last month. Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association, hope springs eternal, and long-term survival is not just a dream, but a reality.
When I can walk, I'm going to trade in my wheelchair for a Harley. Hope. Hope.
Hope. Hope. Hope. Hope.
Even though you're brown, like, he's so racist. And I was like, no. And he's like, that's okay, we can still be friends. And fucking kisses me. I'm like, alright, I'm getting kissed by a stoned and a drunk guy. And then Ryan's best friend pulls me aside and says, you know what, now that Ryan broke up with you, I can actually tell you what's going on. I really like you. And I'm like, you just broke up with your girlfriend. And he's like, yeah, I know, and it's for you. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I don't have the same feelings for you, except now I kind of do. But his ex-girlfriend is like, she's gonna kick my ass. I'm not even kidding. I'm scared shitless. Let's see. Yeah, so that's pretty much the drama that I'm trying to deal with. Oh, another thing. I quit Prozac all by myself. So, I don't know. That's kind of good, I guess. Because it just wasn't working for me anymore. Weed is. Anyway. That's all I can think of right now. Oh, you guys, let me know, like... Shit, did I just shake that? Sorry. Anyway, let me know about the poems thing, and let me know, like, I need help. How am I supposed to just, like, totally not give a shit what he's doing, like, with other chicks?
Nice to talk, gentlemen. I represent the farmers. I represent the factory workers, the people in Oklahoma and Missouri. I'll tell you straight out, you keep trying to take our freedom of speech away, and you can't even begin to know what's going to happen in your worst nightmare. People should be scared of us, especially if you're a nigger.
Clarity was the only person in the history of the Morton Downey Jr. Show to be thrown off the program.
This night will be won one of two ways. Either by the ballot box or the cartridge box.
Another sensible question people ask of me, they'll often say, well, what if I opened up a can of worms? What if I found out I was somebody awful in the past? Yeah, let's think about that one. What if we were?
I'm going to show you my braces and how I walk with them. It might not be textbook definition of walking, one foot in front of the other and running marathons, but it sure as hell ain't sitting down, and that's what I like about it. That's a little tricky at first, but, you know, the harder you try, the more you do it, you get better at it, and, you know, like I said, I can be up in these things for an hour, and really barely even get worn out. When I first tried them, you know, 2 minutes in the parallel bars, it was enough, and I can hang around in this walker all day if I want to, so I'll show you how I do it. Alright, these are the braces that they had made for me. Basically, this is just a plastic mold of behind my leg, bottom of my foot, around my ankle, supports the ankle. There's a Velcro strap, goes around my shin just below my knee. There's another strap that will go up towards the top of my leg. It's basically just flat stock aluminum. It's got a release on the back. I can either pull this lever, or this is actually behind your knee. So as you go to sit down, the release hits, and your leg will bend, so you can sit down normal. They can be, I can wear them underneath my pants if I want to keep them on all day. That's pretty much it. Show you how I use them. Getting the braces to lock isn't always the easiest, but once a month I can move around. Basically all it is a hot motion forward, backwards, you turn. I get back to my chair, the couch, on my balance, reach for the release, release one, and the other releases when I hit the chair. And I've been up for about as long as an hour
be wanted. You want it. Fucking want it. Oh, in your fucking cock, you bastard. I'll make sure you put to any woman. Well, you're not as it is, but it certainly won't be wanted. You want it. Fucking want it.
Getting out of bed, everyone doesn't like doing it, and it can be difficult, but for my dad, it's a physical barrier. My dad now needs help getting dressed, and this takes away his independence. He relies on motors and electricity to be moved around. Motor neuron disease limits activity outdoors and limits freedom. My dad used to be in for sport, and he used to even burst while squatting 300 kilograms. He used to walk the dogs for miles. Now that's been taking him around the block is a major undertaking. Many people take music playing for granted. Some of us like me are music playing it. My dad plays in a band as a drummer, but because of his physical condition, he's limited to the snare and the hi-hat. Ordinary family activities as going for a meal from a restaurant or going on a day out are now difficult as my dad can no longer sit in an ordinary car seat.
How long did you two get together? 4 years. He's done videos for a while. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know him? Oh, yeah. I used to live here. Who did not know him? And did you enjoy getting caught the first time? Yeah, very much. The first time was... Oh, yeah. That was enough. And then you knew, you said... It was interesting. The guy let me fuck him, and he fucked me. And I knew immediately that I loved to get fucked. That's what I love. Good. Livingtribe.com. And, how many guys did you have in one night?
That's an embarrassing question, I hope. I would consider it an honor. If I was a bottom, I'm telling you, I'd be having so many goals. I seriously would be thinking, okay, what's the biggest dick I can handle? Number one. Number two, how many men could I have in one night?
Won a sex club before, you know. I've taken it to New York.
You're embarrassed about the number, aren't you?
I guess so.
Why? Well, I guess maybe, it's society's, society's stigma, our society, gay society, when you talk about it and they say, how many bottoms or how many dicks, how many guys you had in one night. See, I don't look at it as any of that. I look at it as, it's just sex, for God's sakes. It's incredible.
First of all, let's start off by saying that HIV and AIDS is not a gay disease. Okay, now homosexuals are more prone to get infected with the disease and the virus, but it's not a gay disease. It's not like two gay men fucking and AIDS. They just make AIDS like a straight woman and a straight man have a baby and make a baby. It's not like that. They don't just form AIDS. Okay, AIDS come about through fluids, and if you're having sex with someone else who have AIDS and you don't protect yourself, then you will get AIDS, whether you're gay, bi, or straight. It don't have anything to do with sexuality. And also there's a higher percentage of straight people with HIV and AIDS than there is gay people with HIV and AIDS. There's more straight people infected with this disease than there are gay people infected with this disease. I don't know what people seem to think that it's a gay disease, but down low men are not infecting black women with HIV and AIDS. You know who's infecting black women with HIV and AIDS? Black women. Okay? I put so much trust in these men. Y'all first priority should be to make, first of all, you shouldn't even be having sex with multiple men anyway. You need to stick with one man and stop fornicating. Okay, that's what you need to do. Get to know the brother, spend some time with him, after maybe a few months or even a year, if he's still around, because some black brothers ain't trying to wait that long for sex. But, do it. If he loves you, he'll wait. Wait maybe 3 or 4 months. Get to know him first. And you should make it your first priority to make sure that he's checked. Make sure he's not positive or infected. Then you go and have sex with him. And even when you do decide to have sex with him, you should still wrap up. To protect yourself. You are responsible for yourself. You're not a fucking child. How dare you sit there and blame black men or gay black men for you getting infected? Ever wonder why so many black women have HIV and AIDS? It's a high percentage of black women who have HIV and AIDS. I think it's what? They say 10%? It's a high percentage. I don't know the percentage, but you have to Google it or something. But it's a high percentage. Too many.
This vein on the dorsal surface of the hand is the usual choice for the IV line. Prep the skin with alcohol or betadine. A little traction on the skin, a shallow approach to the vein, and the slight flashback into the needle shows that you're in. You apply a little pressure to the puncture site to control any bleed back before attaching the line. The distal end of the tubing screws firmly into place. Hold the catheter in place while you check the tubing to ensure flow. And protect the insertion site. The intravenous line insertion can be uncomfortable for some patients. If time allows, you can numb this delicate area with a subdermal application of lidocaine. You will inject just beside, not into the vein, and just below the surface of the skin. As it infiltrates, you'll see a wheal being created, a small protrusion, just enough to numb a small zone around the puncture site.
I was 14 when I was diagnosed with osteogenic sarcoma, and that was in '87. And 3 months later, they had to amputate the leg. The chemotherapy didn't work. And probably about 6 months after that, I went to amputee camp, and that's where everything started. So that was about 21 years ago. I was really happy. I was really happy that we got a good response from the whole thing, and that even though some of the kids were apprehensive when they first got here, because a lot of them didn't really know anyone else. I don't think any of them really knew anyone else, but they just hit it off really fast, and everyone seemed to just mesh, and I don't want to necessarily say it's because they had an amputation and that they just all meshed, that found this wonderful common ground, but it is a common ground, and it just works. They can joke about it, they can let their guards down about it, and it feels fantastic. It feels really great that they have the same response that I did whenever I came and I met all these people.
There's various forms of suicide. The form of suicide we've talked about at the moment in the community, and I'm talking about here, are where you take your own life by an act of commission of suicide, such as driving off Beachy Head, going for a long swim from Ramona Cove, jumping in front of a train, driving your car at a brick wall or a tree. Those are, or sleeping pills, those are very clear acts of commission, single acts of commission leading to your death by suicide. Those forms are rarer than what I call long-term suicide, a suicide that occurs over a period of months, sometimes over years, where you stop caring about whether you live or die. Thanatos becomes more important than eros in your life. The love of death is more attractive. And you take on the behaviors that will result in your death, but over a longer term. They're still acts of commission, but they're not as dramatic as driving off Beachy Head, driving off a cliff, jumping in front of a train. They take longer. The end result is the same.
But you are responsible, and you are unconscious for longer before you commit suicide. It's a longer, drawn-out process. And that's a very painful suicide because it's not quick. It's very long. It might involve people around you caught up in a conspiracy with you to either commit co-suicide or to assist you in your suicide. It depends who you got in your life. A lot of the gay men I know who've committed suicide, either the quick suicide or the long-term suicide, are without any network, any support system to catch them. No one much knows they're alive, so when they're dead, no one much notices they're dead. And that's dangerous. And I say to gay men, get your support system, your network around you from the beginning. Support each other from the beginning. Because suddenly when you need support and you haven't built up a support network, there's going to be no one there. And so when you hit depression and you think about suicide, either dramatic, quick or long term, there's no one to share this with, there's no one to discuss this with, there's no one to bounce it off with. I have a client at the moment in that position. He's,
What do you do for a living? I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I go to Phoenix Community College. People call skinhead hate mongers. You're a skinhead, what's your opinion of that? We're not hate mongers. We're people that love our own heritage, and we're willing to fight and die for it. And we also love our country that is being taken away, and we're here to make sure that it gets brought back to regain the power.
This is Stoke Mandeville Hospital in Aylesbury, where I had my operation. I was 14 years old. Here you can see me out of bed and trying my plaster cast brace on for the first time. For the first time since my operation, I was able to walk up and down the corridor outside my room. The brace felt a bit strange, but I soon got used to wearing it. On the bed, I now have to take the brace off myself before lying back down. I wasn't able to leave my brace on whilst in bed, as it would arch my spine. After my operation, you can see the scar down my spine. The scar on my hip is where they took bone to place between my vertebrae. my operation on the 1st of July, during the school summer holidays, 8 weeks later I felt ready to return to school for the start of term.
Your life after you've suffered a sudden disability, that disability is sort of, 3/4 of your life is dominated by this, and then gradually as you build other parts of your life back in, it will never go away, but it's a smaller part of your overall percentage of your sort of everyday life.
I went from age of 17 to the age of about 27, not knowing what was wrong with me. The transition from actually being able to walk to going in the wheelchair and not being able to was very sudden.
I fell out of a tree. I was a tree surgeon. I was working as a tree surgeon at the time. I fell 6 meters onto a gauge roof. I landed flat on the gauge roof and immediately had no sensation in my legs.
I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis when I was 13, it was just before 14 actually, and I just remember laughing when my mum told me that I had it, and I just, only grandmothers get that.
I work with individuals and it's making sure they're aware of what their rights are with regards to things like care and housing and equipment, because equipment again can play a big part in somebody's long-term future.
I've been able to stay in work because I accepted being disabled, because there's work schemes through the government. There's something called access to work. So on days when I can't drive to the office, they will pay for a taxi because I can't come every day by public transport.
All of a sudden that nice quality of life you had with finance, with good incomes, is suddenly, streams of income have suddenly stopped. My sort of physicality was very much a part of how I earned a living. It was difficult to think of adjusting or finding an alternative way of making a living.
Work for me as well has been really, really supportive, because I'm not ill when I'm not here with arthritis. I'm actually on disability leave. I have a condition, and it's quite important for me not to be seen as having time off for being ill when it's something completely different.
Housing's probably the top of the list for problems, issues with people. And the obvious thing is that most houses unfortunately aren't built accessible. So unfortunately, in order to get access, you have ramps fitted to your properties. And then you've got issues of door widths and being able to get up and down stairs. So in a lot of cases, your home has become obsolete. I do have stairs up to the front door here, and I have a platform lift which enables me to access it. But once I'm in, the flat's all on one level and the doors were wide enough to be able to get through. I would say that trying to go for a wheelchair that will go through a standard width doorway is always useful.
I've got no disabled equipment, so to speak, but I've got taps that are so easy to put on. I've got a shower that I can just walk into, and that I can actually turn the tap to get the water on. I've got light switches which are easy to do, and door handles I can actually open, because there's nothing worse than I've been stuck in a room for 2 hours before now, not being able to turn one of those twisty handles. So just practical things, I think.
My parents have said, you've basically got a home for life. They know that I want to move out. They know that I'm on the list for a council place.
You're kind of constantly on the lookout for things that will help you. And before I moved house a few months ago, I actually made loads of notes and cut out lots of things that I saw in magazines that I knew would help me live an independent life at home.
It was almost 15 months till I actually found somewhere to live comfortably with my family. There isn't enough adapted accommodation in the country for the needs. So from that point of view, we were fortunate to be able to come home again. A lot of people's circumstances following spinal cord injury, they need personal assistance. That is a huge life-changing experience. Having to ask or tell somebody to do things for you, making sure who you're talking to understands exactly what your needs are and what you're after.
Do what I can. For preparing food, my partner might do it. For opening windows, I can't, or shutting windows, I can't do that. So, and I've had flatmates before, so it's kind of always been somebody around. So it's not an official carer as such, but I couldn't manage to do a lot of things around the house by myself.
The big thing is planning. You need to take a little bit more time out than perhaps you used to plan a holiday or a venture or go into the cinema or restaurant. You normally find that most places, or a lot of places, are accessible.
You can't really do anything spontaneously. You have to plan everything. Even just popping to the shop it can be a whole day's experience for me, and yet it's only about a minute walk away. So you really have to think about what's important to you and what you want to do.
I shop online. If I need anything, I ask. Say my dad is popping down to the shop. I'll say, oh, while you're down there, can you get me such and such?
If you've got that family support, I strongly believe that, they help you through. My worry has always been working with individuals that haven't got that family support. They need more support.
You learn ways of coping, you learn different tricks. Parenting is probably the most difficult aspect of being in a wheelchair, is dealing with, first a baby, then a toddler. I learned quite a lot from other disabled parents who I'd come in contact with, who gave me a tremendous amount of information, and just that informal support of knowing that someone else has been there before you, and that it is actually possible to cope with these things.
I can accept and understand in the early days, all of a sudden you're, an able person that's done this, that and the other, and all of a sudden you feel that the rug's been taken away from you. However, there's an awful lot of information out there. Sometimes it's knowing where to get this information.
You have to think positively. There are times when that's just going to be impossible, but speaking to other people in a similar position has been something that's always helped me. I had to learn to use the word I am disabled, and actually as you grow up and accept your disease or your disability, that you see something in there that's just, it's not as important a word as it used to be to me.
Kind of has affected how I see myself, and it's affected how I think others see me.
I'm now the living embodiment of the blue badge. People see me, and whatever their preconceptions about disability may be are immediately transplanted onto me, and so I have to deal with that in some way and try and be as polite as possible.
I'm just a normal person. Just because I have to get around on wheels rather than walking on my legs, it doesn't make me different from Tom, Dick or Harry at the end of the street.
Instead of looking at what I could do, it's what I can do. There is a lot of positives that have come from an awful lot of negatives.
If you had told me at the time that I was injured that I would be where I am now in terms of activity, in terms of feeling like a full and active parent, and actually having a lot of laughs in my life and a lot of enjoyment and a very inclusive life, in terms of friends and family and so on, I don't think I could have imagined that that's where I would be. So I think things definitely work out better than you might think.